You can sleep in the garage. There's an old mattress out there, my son said as he handed the best bedrooms over to my daughter-in-law's family. But the next day, everyone found out what I had done, and no one ever slept in that house again. My name is Mary Johnson. I am 55 years old, and this is the story I kept for too long, not out of shame, but because it took me years to understand that a mother's love also has its limits. It all started 3 years ago, when my son, Robert, turned 32. He had already been married for 2 years to Samantha, a girl from a well-off family who always treated me with courtesy. Cold courtesy, but courtesy nonetheless. I lived in the house my husband and I built together, brick by brick, over 30 years of marriage. A 2-story house in the Queens neighborhood, with a front yard and a back patio where purple bougainvillea grew. That house smelled like fresh coffee every morning and warm cinnamon rolls on Sundays. When my husband, Richard, died 5 years ago of a sudden heart attack, the house felt too big for me, but it was my sanctuary. Every corner held his voice, his laugh, the echo of our Saturdays watching movies in the living room. Robert was my only son. I raised him with all the love a mother can give. He studied business administration, landed a good job at a logistics company, and married Samantha in a beautiful wedding in Napa Valley. I was happy for him. I truly was. Samantha came from a wealthy family in Beverly Hills. Her father owned a chain of high-end steakhouses. Her mother, Elizabeth, was one of those women who wear pearls every day and always have something to criticize with a smile on their lips. The first time we met, Elizabeth looked me up and down and said, "What an cozy house." I smiled. I did not say anything, but I understood the message. After the wedding, Robert and Samantha rented an apartment near Manhattan. I visited them once a month. I always brought meatloaf or a pie that I made with my own hands. Samantha received them with a polite smile, but never ate anything. "Thank you, Mary, but we are watching our diet." I would nod, swallow the pain, and return to my house alone, with the empty Tupperware container in my hands. The months went by. Robert called me less. When he did, it was always fast. "Mum, I have a meeting. I'll call you later." Later never came, but I understood. Children grow up, they make their own lives. That is natural. One day Robert called me, excited. "Mum, we have news. Samantha is pregnant." My heart filled with light. I was going to be a grandmother. I cried with happiness that night, hugging Richard's photograph on my nightstand. "You are going to be a grandfather, my love. I wish you were here to see this." During the pregnancy, I tried to get closer to Samantha. I offered to go with her to appointments, help her with the baby shopping, make her chicken noodle soup when she had cravings. She always had an excuse. "Thanks, Mary, but my mum is already going with me." "Thanks, Mary, but we already bought everything." "Thanks, Mary, but I don't feel well." I would nod, smile, and swallow the sadness. When my granddaughter Sophia was born, I was in the hospital waiting room. Elizabeth and her husband went in first. They stayed inside for 2 hours. When they came out, Elizabeth looked at me with that sharp smile and said, "You can go in now, but don't wake her. She's very tired." I tiptoed in. Samantha was asleep. Robert was holding the baby. When he saw me, he smiled tiredly and handed her to me. "Look, Mum, it's Sophia." I held her in my arms and felt the world stop. She was so small, so perfect. She smelled like powder and a miracle. I touched her tiny hand, and she squeezed my finger. "Welcome to the world, my love," I whispered. It was the most beautiful moment of my life, but it was also the last moment I felt important to them, because the next day, When I returned to the hospital with clean clothes for Robert and some soup for Samantha, the nurse stopped me at the door. "Excuse me, ma'am, only immediate family." "I'm the grandmother." "Yes, but Mrs. Samantha left instructions that only her mother can come in today." I stood there, with the warm Tupperware in my hands, watching Elizabeth walk in with a Louis Vuitton suitcase and a triumphant smile. I went back home, sat down in the kitchen, and for the first time, I felt something break inside me, but I did not yet know how much. Have you ever trusted someone you should not have? Have you been disappointed by someone you loved? Tell me your story in the comments. I want to read them. The first months after Sophia's birth were strange. I called Robert every 2 days to ask how they were. He always answered in a hurry. "Everything's fine, Mum. The baby is healthy. Samantha is recovering." "Can I come visit them?" "Better wait a bit. Samantha needs rest." I waited. 1 week, 2, 3. Finally, Robert invited me over on a Sunday. "Come for lunch, Mum, but don't bring anything. Samantha already cooked." I arrived with a bouquet of flowers and a stuffed animal for Sophia. I rang the doorbell. Samantha opened the door with the baby in her arms. "Hello, Mary. Come in." I went in. The house was spotless. It smelled like vanilla and expensive detergent. There were new photographs in the living room. Samantha with Sophia, Elizabeth with Sophia, Robert with Sophia. None of me. "Can I hold her?" I asked. Samantha hesitated. "She's about to fall asleep. Better later." I sat on the sofa. Robert came out of the kitchen with a coffee tray. "How are you, Mum?" "Good, son. Missing you all." He smiled uncomfortably. "Yeah, we've been busy." We ate in silence. I tried to make conversation, but everything felt forced. Samantha answered in monosyllables. Robert looked at his cell phone. When Sophia started to cry, Samantha got up quickly. "I'm going to nurse her. Excuse us." She left for the room. Robert also got up. "I'm going to help her." I was left alone in the living room, finishing my cold coffee, looking at the photographs where I did not exist. I returned home that afternoon with a knot in my chest. But I consoled myself by thinking that things would get better, that Samantha was just tired, that Robert was just adapting to being a father. I clung to that hope like a drowning person clings to a straw, because the truth is that I remembered how everything was before. Before Samantha, before Elizabeth, before my son stopped calling me Mommy and started calling me Mary in the presence of his wife. I remembered Sundays when Robert was a child. We would get up early. Richard would make bacon and eggs, while I made biscuits and gravy and hot pancakes. Robert would come into the kitchen in his pajamas, with messy hair and sleep-swollen eyes. "Good morning, champ," Richard would say. "Good morning, Dad." "Good morning, Mummy." And he would hug me tight, as if I were his refuge. We would eat breakfast together at the kitchen table. Richard would tell him stories from when he was a boy. Robert would laugh. I would look at them and think, this is my family, this is all I need. After breakfast, we would go to the park. Robert would play catch with his dad. I would sit on a bench under the shade of a tree, with a thermos of coffee and a book I never read, because I preferred to watch them play. When Robert would fall and scrape his knees, he would run to me. "Mummy, it hurts." I would hug him, clean the wound with water, put a Band-Aid on it, and kiss his forehead. "It's all better now, my love. It's all better." And he would run off again, as if my hug had the power to heal any pain. In the afternoons, when Richard sat down to read the newspaper, Robert and I would bake together. "Will you teach me to make chocolate chip cookies, Mummy?" "Of course, my angel." He would mix the flour with so much enthusiasm that we would both end up covered in white powder. We would laugh. Richard would take photos of us. The kitchen smelled like butter and happiness. Those were my days. My entire life fit into that house, in that kitchen, in those hugs. When Robert went to college, things changed a bit. He went out more with friends. He came home late, but he always kissed my forehead before going to sleep. Good night, Mummy. Good night, my love. Sleep tight. When he met Samantha, I was happy for him. I thought, he found someone who will make him happy. The first time he brought her home, she was nice. She smiled. She helped me set the table. What a nice house, Mrs. Mary. Thank you, dear. This is your home too. The four of us had dinner. Richard told jokes. Robert laughed. Samantha smiled politely. Everything seemed fine. But after that night, things started to change. Robert began spending more time at Samantha's house. When he came to see us, he was always in a rush. Mum, Samantha is waiting for me. Mum, we have plans. Mum, let's talk another day. I did not say anything. I thought it was normal, that couples need their space. But I missed my son. I missed our afternoons in the kitchen, our talks before bed, his spontaneous hugs. I missed being his refuge. When Richard died, Robert stayed with me for the first few weeks. He hugged me at the funeral. He helped me with the paperwork. He kept me company on nights when I could not sleep. Mummy, you're not alone. I'm here. But then, little by little, he started pulling away again. And I was left alone in that big house, full of memories and silence. Now, sitting in my kitchen, looking at the coffee mug Robert gave me years ago with the phrase, "To the best mum in the world," I wondered, when did I stop being his world? When did I become an uncomfortable visitor in his life? As I tell all this, I wonder where you might be listening to me. Write the name of your city in the comments. 6 months passed since that uncomfortable visit to Robert's apartment. I kept calling every week, but the answers were getting shorter. Mum, we're fine. I'll call you later. Mum, Sophia is sleeping. Mum, we're busy. One day I decided to go without announcing it. I baked a red velvet cake, Robert's favorite since he was a child, and took an Uber to their apartment. I rang the doorbell. No one answered. I rang again. I waited. Finally, the door opened. But it was not Robert or Samantha. It was Elizabeth. Mary, what a surprise. She looked at me with that polite smile that did not reach her eyes. Hello, Elizabeth. I came to see Robert and the baby. I didn't know you were here. Yes, I come every week. Samantha really needs me with the baby. I stood in the doorway, with the cake in my hands, feeling like I was in the way. Can I come in? Elizabeth hesitated for a second, just 1 second, but I noticed it. Of course, come in. They're in the living room. I went in. Samantha was sitting on the sofa, feeding Sophia a bottle. Robert was not there. Hello, Samantha. Hello, Mary. What are you doing here? The question hurt more than a blow. I came to visit you all. I brought a cake. Oh, thanks. Just leave it in the kitchen. I went to the kitchen. Elizabeth followed me. You know, Mary, maybe you should call before coming over. Samantha has a very strict routine with the baby, and unexpected visits stress her out. I turned to look at her. I'm Sophia's grandmother. I'm not a visit. Elizabeth smiled. Of course not. But you understand that Samantha needs her space. This first-time motherhood thing is very demanding. I know. I was a first-time mum too. Yes, of course. But things are different now. Mums nowadays are more informed, more conscious. They have methods. Samantha reads a lot of parenting books. I did not say anything. I just nodded. I went back to the living room. I sat in the single armchair, the one farthest from the sofa where Samantha was holding Sophia. Can I hold her when she finishes eating? Samantha exchanged a glance with her mother. Better not, Mary. After eating, she needs to be burped, and then I put her down. If people hold her, she gets overstimulated. I stayed quiet, watching my granddaughter from afar, so close and yet so distant. Elizabeth sat next to Samantha. Sam, did you tell Mary about the christening party? What party? I asked. Samantha was not looking at me. We're christening Sophia next month, at the church in Beverly Hills. That's great. When is it? So I can request the day off at... It's a small event, Elizabeth interrupted me. Just close family and godparents. I am close family, I'm the grandmother. Yes, of course, Samantha said. We'll let you know the date. But in her tone, in her look, I knew I was not welcome. I stayed for 30 more minutes. Elizabeth and Samantha talked to each other about diapers, pediatricians, sleep training methods. I just listened, like a stranger in my own family. When I got up to leave, Samantha did not even get up from the sofa. Thanks for coming, Mary. Take care. Elizabeth walked me to the door. Mary, you understand that Samantha is very tired, right? Being a mum is exhausting. I'm here to support her. But you also have your own life. You don't have to keep coming around so much. I stood looking at her. And in that moment, I understood something I had been denying for months. Elizabeth did not want to share her granddaughter, and Samantha was letting it happen. I understand, I finally said. I left the building with the cake intact in my hands. On the street, a woman sweeping the sidewalk saw me and smiled. Did you have some extra cake, Mom? I gave it to her. Enjoy it. She looked at me kindly. God bless you. You look sad. I'm fine, I lied. I went back home in the Uber, looking out the window, watching the streets of a city that suddenly seemed hostile to me. When I arrived, I sat in the kitchen. I did not cry, not yet. I just poured myself a glass of water and sat there, in silence, feeling how something inside me was starting to shatter. 2 weeks later, I received an invitation via text message. It was an elegant image with gold letters. Invitation to the christening of Sophia Johnson Gutierrez. At the end, in small letters, it said private event, RSVP required. I called Robert. Son, I received the christening invitation. Yes, Mum. Will you be able to come? Of course I'm going. She is my granddaughter. There was a silence. Mum, there's something I want to tell you. Elizabeth and her husband are going to be the godparents. Oh, that's nice. And the party is going to be at their house. It's an intimate thing. Only 20 people. I understand. Mum, don't be mad. I'm not mad, son. But I was. I just did not know how to say it without sounding like the bitter mother-in-law that Samantha probably thought I was. On the day of the christening, I arrived at the church early. I put on my best navy blue dress, the one Richard gave me for our 25th anniversary. Today you'll meet your great-granddaughter, my love. I whispered to his photograph before leaving. At the church, I sat in the third pew. In front were Elizabeth, her husband, Samantha, Robert, and all of Samantha's family. I was alone. When the priest poured the holy water on Sophia's head, the baby cried. I wanted to cry too, but I held it in. After the ceremony, everyone left for Elizabeth's house. I went in my own car. It was a huge house in Beverly Hills, with a yard and a fountain. There were waiters with trays, soft music, elegant decorations. I stayed near the entrance, not knowing where to stand. Samantha was surrounded by her friends, all taking turns holding Sophia. Elizabeth was taking pictures. Robert was serving drinks. No one looked my way. I approached Robert. "Son, can I hold Sophia for a moment?" He looked at Samantha. She shook her head, subtly. "Mum, better later. She's fussy." I stood there, like a ghost in my own family. After 2 hours, I left without saying goodbye. No one noticed my absence. That night, at my house, sitting in the darkness of my living room, I understood something that broke my heart. I was no longer a part of my son's life. I had been replaced, and the worst part was that Robert was allowing it. The following months were a slow fade. I kept calling Robert, but now only once a week. I did not want to be the pushy mother-in-law that Samantha was surely complaining about. "Mum, everything okay? I'll send you pictures of Sophia." And he sent me pictures. Sophia in her crib, Sophia with Elizabeth, Sophia in the park, Sophia in Samantha's arms. He never asked me to come see her in person. I saved every photo in a special folder on my phone. I looked at her before sleeping, imagining what it would be like to hold her, smell her little head, hear her laugh. But they were just photos, screens, distance. One day Robert called me. "Mum, I have to tell you something." "What happened, son? Is everything okay?" "Yes, everything's fine. It's just that Samantha and I are thinking of moving house." "Seriously, where to?" "To a bigger house. Sophia is growing and we need more space." "That's great, son. I'm so happy for you." There was a pause. "Mum, I wanted to tell you something else too. We've been thinking that, well, that you live alone in that big house. And well, you're already 55 years old. Maybe it would be good for you to think about something smaller, more manageable." I felt a pang in my chest. "Are you telling me to sell my house?" "No, Mom. I'm just telling you to think about it. That house has a lot of expenses, maintenance, property taxes, utilities, and you're alone there." "This house is my home, Robert. It's where I raised my son, where I lived with your father." "Yes, Mum, I know. But Dad is gone now, and the house is very run down. The roof leaks. The yard is neglected. It would be more practical to sell it and buy a small apartment, something comfortable for you." "And what would I do with all the memories?" "Mum, memories are in the heart, not on the walls." That phrase hurt me more than anything else, because it came from him, from my son, from the boy who cried when I threatened to throw away his old toys because they have memories, Mummy. "I'll think about it," I finally said, but I was not going to think about it. That house was the only thing I had left of Richard, of my life, of myself. I was not going to sell it. 3 months passed. Robert did not mention the subject again, until one day I received another call. "Mum, we found a house. It's beautiful. It has 4 bedrooms, a yard, an office. It's in a very secure gated community in Orange County." "That's great, son. I'm so happy for you." "Mum, there's something else." His tone changed. He sounded nervous. "What's wrong?" "Well, to buy the house, we need a big down payment. And well, our savings are not enough. So we thought that, well, maybe you could help us." I stayed quiet. "Help you how?" "Well, with a loan. Or if you sell your house, you could give us a part. As an investment in our future, in Sophia's future." I felt the floor moving beneath my feet. "Robert, that house is all I have." "Mum, I'm not asking you to give it to us, just to help us. We are your family. Sophia is your granddaughter. Don't you want her to grow up in a nice place? Of course I do, son, but Samantha says her parents already helped us with half. But we still need more. And well, I thought you'd want to contribute too. There it was. The comparison. The pressure. Elizabeth had already given. I had to give too. How much do you need? $50,000. $50,000. It was almost all the money I had saved. The money that Richard and I saved for years for our old age. The money that was now only mine. Robert, that is a lot of money. Mum, we'll pay you back. With interest. I'll sign a promissory note. But we need your help. I closed my eyes. I took a deep breath. Let me think about it. Thank you, Mum. I knew I could count on you. He hung up. I stayed seated in the living room, looking at the walls of my house, the walls that Richard painted, the floor we put in together, the window where the sun came in every morning. He was really asking me to sell all that. He was really asking me to give them my only security. I could not sleep that night. I spoke to Richard in the darkness of my room. What do I do, my love? Do I give him the money? He's our son, but it's also all we have left. Richard did not answer, but I knew what he would say. Don't do it, Mary. That money is for you, for your old age, for your peace of mind. But he was my son, and I had always done everything for him. The next day, I went to the bank. I withdrew $50,000 from my savings. I put them in a white envelope. I called Robert. Son, I have the money. Seriously, Mum? You're the best. Yes, but I want you to sign a promissory note, and I want you to pay me back in 2 years. Of course, Mum. Whatever you say. I love you. I love you too, son. We met at a coffee shop. He arrived with Samantha. She did not even greet me with a kiss. Just a "Hello, Mary" from a distance. Robert signed the promissory note. I gave him the envelope. Thank you, Mum. You don't know what this means to us. Samantha took it and put it in her purse without saying anything. Aren't you going to count the money? I asked. She looked at me. We trust you, Mary. But her tone was not one of trust. It was one of indifference. I returned home with the note. I put it in a folder along with the house documents. And that night, for the first time in months, I cried. I cried because I had just given all my money to a son who no longer called me Mummy, who no longer hugged me, who no longer needed me. I cried because I had become an emotional ATM. I cried because I knew in the bottom of my heart that I would never get that money back. But I swallowed it all, the pain, the sadness, the humiliation, because that is what mothers do. They disappear, they sacrifice, they fade away. And I almost did not exist anymore. I still wonder if I did the right thing. What about you? What would you have done in my place? 4 months passed since I gave them the money. Robert and Samantha moved into their new house, a beautiful 2-story residence with a spacious yard and luxury finishes. They sent me photos via text message. Look, Mum, we're all settled in. The house looks gorgeous. I replied with a heart emoji, because I did not know what else to say. They did not invite me to see it in person. I waited. 1 week, 2, 3, nothing. Finally, I called them. Son, I'd like to see the house. Can I come over one of these days? Yes, Mom. Of course, I'll let you know when. That, I'll let you know when, never came. But one day, 2 months later, Robert called me. Mum, we're having a family lunch next Sunday to celebrate the housewarming. Can you come? My heart leaped. Of course. Son, what should I bring? Don't bring anything, Mum. Samantha already has everything planned. Are you sure? Can I make my apple pie? No, Mum, seriously. Just come. On Sunday, I arrived early. I put on my best wine-coloured dress. I did my hair. I put on the pearl earrings that Richard gave me for our 30th anniversary. I rang the gate buzzer. Robert came out to open it for me. Hello, Mum. Come in. I went in. The house was even more beautiful than it looked in the photos. Marble floors, huge picture windows, modern furniture, a perfectly manicured lawn, and a stone fountain. What a beautiful house, son. Yeah, right? Samantha decorated the whole thing. She has great taste. We went into the living room. Elizabeth and her husband were sitting on the main sofa. Samantha's parents looked at me with that usual cold courtesy. Hello, Mary. Hello, Elizabeth. Good afternoon, Mr. Clark. I sat in a single armchair, the one farthest away. Samantha came out of the kitchen with Sophia in her arms. The baby was already a year and a half old. She was beautiful, in a white dress and a floral headband. Hello, Mary. Hello, Samantha. Sophia is so big. Yes, she's growing so fast. I stood up and held out my arms. Can I hold her for a bit? Samantha hesitated. She looked at her mother. Elizabeth reluctantly nodded. Okay, but don't let her go. She's very active. I took Sophia in my arms. It was the first time I had held her in months. I felt her weight, her warmth, her baby soap smell. Hello, my love. I'm your grandma, Mary. She looked at me with big, curious eyes. She did not cry. She just watched me. Say grandma, I whispered. But Sophia did not say anything. She just put her finger in her mouth and looked towards Samantha. Mummy, she said. Samantha smiled. Come here, my love. Sophia stretched her arms toward her. I let her go. I was left with empty arms. During the meal, I sat in a corner of the table. Elizabeth and Mr. Clark were at the ends, Robert and Samantha in the center. I was at the very end, next to Samantha's aunt, who barely spoke to me. We ate salmon with salad, mushroom risotto, and a raspberry dessert that looked like it was out of a magazine. Everything was elegant. Everything was expensive. I ate in silence, listening to Elizabeth and Samantha talk about the decoration, about private schools for Sophia, about the trip to Europe they were planning. We're taking Sophia to Paris next year, Samantha said. We want her to see the world from a young age. That's nice, I said. I've never been to Paris. No one responded. They continued talking as if I had not said a word. After the meal, Elizabeth and Samantha went out to the yard with Sophia. The men stayed in the living room watching football. I went to the kitchen to help clean up. There I found the housekeeper, a young woman from rural Alabama. Let me help you, I said. No, Mom, I can manage. I insist. I don't like to sit around doing nothing. She smiled. Thank you, Mom. We washed the dishes together. She told me she had been working there for 3 months. What is it like working for Mrs. Samantha? I asked. The young woman hesitated. She's demanding, but she pays me well. Does Mrs. Elizabeth come often? Oh, yes, almost every day. Sometimes she stays overnight. She has her own bedroom upstairs. I felt a punch in my stomach. Elizabeth has her own bedroom here. Yes, Ma'am. The guest bedroom is specially decorated for her. Does she have her clothes, her things? Mr. Roberts says it's so she can come whenever she wants to watch the baby. I stayed quiet, drying a plate, feeling something inside me break a little more. Elizabeth had a bedroom in my son's house, a permanent bedroom, while I had not even been invited to see the house until that day. The young woman kept talking. Mrs. Elizabeth is very affectionate with the baby. She comes every morning. She gives her breakfast. She takes her to the park. Sometimes she even stays overnight when Mrs. Samantha has an event. That's nice, I said, my voice cracking. Are you related to Mrs. Samantha? I'm Mr. Robert's mother, Sophia's grandmother. The young woman looked at me in surprise. Seriously? Excuse me, Mom. I didn't know. Well, I've never seen you around here. I don't come much. I live far away. I lied. I lived 40 minutes away, the same distance as Elizabeth. We finished washing the dishes. I left the kitchen and went to the yard. Elizabeth and Samantha were there, sitting in wicker chairs, drinking iced tea. Sophia was playing on the grass with her toys. I approached. Can I sit down? Samantha pointed to a chair. Sure. I sat down. Elizabeth and Samantha continued talking between themselves about trips, about clothes, about mutual friends. I just listened, like an outsider to my own family's life. Suddenly, Sophia fell. It was nothing serious. She just tripped over her own foot, but she started to cry. I got up quickly to go pick her up, but Elizabeth was faster. There, my love. It's all better now. Grandma is here. Grandma? She meant herself. Sophia stopped crying and hugged Elizabeth. Gama! Gama! Elizabeth looked at me with a triumphant smile. She already says Gama. It's her first word for a grandmother. I stood there with empty hands, watching my granddaughter call another woman Grandma, seeing how I was just Mary. Never Grandma, never Gama, just Mary. I sat down again. I did not say anything. I swallowed the pain, as always. 2 hours later, I said goodbye. Thanks for the meal. Everything was delicious. Robert walked me to the door. Thanks for coming, Mum. Son, can I ask you something? Sure. Why hadn't you invited me to see the house before? He scratched his head, uncomfortable. Well, we've been really busy, Mum. Settling in, you know. But Elizabeth comes every day. He looked at me. Elizabeth helps a lot with Sophia. Samantha needs her. I can help too. Yes, Mum. But, well, Elizabeth is closer, and she has more time. I have time too, Robert. He sighed. Mum, I don't want this to become a problem. It's not a problem, son. I just want to be a part of my granddaughter's life. And you are. But you have to understand that Samantha and Elizabeth have a very special relationship, and I can't get in the middle of that. There it was. The truth. Robert was not going to defend me. He was not going to fight for me. He was not going to stand up to Samantha or Elizabeth. I was alone. I understand, I said. And I left. In the Uber back, I looked out the window and saw my reflection. A woman of 55, alone, invisible, forgotten. A woman who had just discovered that her place in the family had been taken by another grandmother, and that her son was not going to do anything to change it. After that lunch, I stopped calling so much. I no longer had the strength. I no longer had hope. I focused on my house, on my yard, on my solitary routines. Every morning I would get up, make coffee, water the plants, and talk to Richard. I don't know what to do anymore, my love. Our son forgot me, and I'm forgetting myself. 3 months passed without Robert calling me. I did not reach out either. I wanted to see how long it would take him to remember me. The answer was a long time. Until one day, in December, I received a text message from Samantha. Hello, Mary. We invite you to the Christmas party at our house on December 23rd. Please RSVP. A cold message, formal, as if it were a corporate invitation. I confirmed, because I still had that stupid hope that things could get better. On December 23rd, I arrived at the house with a gift for Sophia, a stuffed giraffe that I had knitted myself for weeks. Every stitch was an act of love. Every turn of the yarn, a prayer. I rang the doorbell. Robert opened it. "Hello, Mum. Early Merry Christmas." "Merry Christmas, son." I went in. The house was full of people. Samantha's friends, Samantha's family, the ever-present Elizabeth with her husband. I did not know anyone else. I sat in a corner of the living room, holding my bag with Sophia's gift. The party went on. Christmas music, eggnog, laughter, children running. I watched everything from my corner like a ghost. At some point, Samantha walked by with Sophia in her arms. "Sam, can I give Sophia her gift?" "Oh, yes. Just put it under the tree. We'll open presents later." I put the knitted giraffe under the huge Christmas tree they had in the living room. Among boxes wrapped in shiny paper with perfect bows, my gift looked humble, almost sad. The party continued. I served myself eggnog. I ate an appetizer. I spoke to a woman who turned out to be Samantha's interior decorator. "What a beautiful house, right?" she said to me. "Yes, very beautiful. Mrs. Samantha has excellent taste, and her mother too. The two of them decorated the whole thing." "That's nice." Between the two of them, Samantha and Elizabeth. Robert did not exist in that sentence, and I, even less. At 9 o'clock at night, Samantha announced, "Well, family, we're going to open presents." Everyone gathered around the tree. Sophia was sitting on the floor, excited. Elizabeth was the first to give her a gift. "This is from Gamar, my love." Sophia opened the box. It was a huge wooden dollhouse with furniture and everything. Expensive. Perfect. "How beautiful!" everyone shouted. Then came Mr. Clark. A red tricycle. Then the friends. Designer clothes. Expensive toys. Finally, Samantha picked up my gift. "Let's see, Sophia. This one is from Mary." She did not even say your grandma Mary, just Mary. Sophia opened the bag, took out the knitted giraffe, looked at it, touched it, and left it on the floor. "Next present," she said in her little voice. Everyone laughed, as if it were cute, but it pierced my heart. No one said, "How pretty." No one asked who made it. No one noticed the hours of work, the love in every stitch. The giraffe was forgotten on the floor while Sophia played with the other gifts. I stood up. I went to the bathroom. I locked myself in. And I cried in silence. When I came out, dinner had been served. I sat at a small table, far away from everyone. I ate in silence, watching Robert laugh with Samantha's friends, watching Elizabeth hold Sophia, watching how my family existed perfectly without me. At 11 o'clock at night, I said goodbye. "I'm leaving now. Thanks for the invitation." Robert barely looked up. "Take care, Mom. Merry Christmas." Samantha did not even get up. "Merry Christmas, Mary." I left that house with a broken heart. In the Uber, the driver asked me, "Were you coming from a party, Mom?" "Yes." "You look sad. Did something happen?" "No. Everything's fine." But it was not fine. Nothing was fine. That night, at my house, alone, I made myself some chamomile tea and sat in the kitchen. I looked at the calendar. 2 days until Christmas. Robert had not invited me to spend it with them. I opened my phone. I looked for the last text message from my son. It was from 2 weeks ago. "Hello, Mom. Everything's fine. I'll call you later. Later never came. I closed the phone. I took a deep breath. And I made a decision. I was not going to chase him anymore. I was not going to beg for a place in his life. I was not going to beg for my own son's love. If he wanted to see me, he would have to look for me. But I was not going to look anymore. I spent Christmas alone. I made turkey and mashed potatoes just for myself. I put up the small tree I had in the living room. I played Christmas carols. And at night, I spoke to Richard. I don't know if I'm being foolish or brave, my love, but I can't take it anymore. I'm losing myself. And you always said that a woman without dignity is a woman without a life. The day after Christmas, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, my phone rang. It was Robert. Hello, Mum. How was your Christmas? Good, son. Peaceful. Why didn't you let us know? We would have invited you. I felt anger. For the first time in years, I felt rage. Robert, I waited for an invitation. It didn't come. Mum, we assumed you would come. We didn't think it was necessary. Robert, I was invited to the party with a cold text message from Samantha, but I wasn't invited to Christmas dinner. Do you know what that means? He was silent. It means I don't matter anymore. That I'm an obligation, a formality, not your mum. Don't say that. It's the truth, son. And the worst part is you're allowing it. Mum, Samantha has her ways. She and her family are just like that. I can't. You can't what, Robert? Defend me? Include me? Remember that I exist? Mum, I don't want to fight. Me neither, son. But I need you to understand something. I gave you $50,000. I gave it to you without hesitation. Do you know why? Because you're my son and I would do anything for you. But since I gave you that money, you haven't asked me how I am. You haven't invited me to your house. You don't let me spend time with my granddaughter. Elizabeth has a permanent bedroom in your house. I don't even have a chair to sit on without feeling uncomfortable. There was a long silence. Mum, No, Robert. Let me finish. I know Samantha and Elizabeth see me as a nuisance, and you are letting them. You are giving them permission to erase me, and I'm not going to allow that anymore. What do you mean? I mean that I need time to think, to decide what I'm going to do with my life, because this way of existing halfway in my son's life, I can't do it anymore. Mum, you're overreacting. Overreacting? Robert, I spent Christmas alone. Did you spend Christmas thinking about me, even for a second? Silence. That's what I thought, I said. And I hung up. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding. But for the first time in years, I felt something like dignity. That night I took out the promissory note that Robert had signed for me. I read it. I promised to pay the amount of $50,000 within a period of 2 years. 8 months had passed, not a single payment. They had not even mentioned it. I put the note away again, and I understood something that broke me and freed me at the same time. My son did not see me as his mother. He saw me as a resource, and I had allowed that to happen. But no more. The whole month of January passed without Robert calling me. I did not look for him either. I dedicated myself to myself. I started doing yoga in the mornings. I read books I had forgotten about. I went for walks in the park. I met other women my age. We talked. We laughed. I realized something. I had forgotten what it was like to live without expecting anything from anyone. And it felt liberating. One day in February, Robert showed up at my house without warning. He rang the doorbell. I was in the garden pruning the roses. Mum, can we talk? Of course, son. Come in. We went into the living room. I served him iced tea. What's going on, Robert? He looked uncomfortable, nervous. Mum, I need to talk to you well, about the money we owe you. There it was. Finally. What about the money? It's just, things have been hard. The house has a lot of expenses. Sophia is in a very expensive private school. Samantha wants to remodel the kitchen. And well, we haven't been able to save up the payments. Robert, 10 months have passed. I know, Mum, but we just can't afford it. So when are you going to pay me back? He lowered his gaze. That's what I came to tell you. Samantha and I were thinking that maybe you could consider it a gift, as your contribution to our family, to Sophia's future. I felt the air leave my lungs. A gift? Yes, Mum. Yes, I mean, technically it's already yours, because Sophia is your granddaughter. The house is for her too. It's like a family investment. Robert, that money was my savings. It was my security. Yes, but Mum, you have your house. You have your widow's pension. You're fine. We needed that money more than you did. I stayed silent, looking at him, searching in his eyes for the boy who hugged me, the son who told me, "Mummy, you're the best thing in the world." But that boy no longer existed. Robert, your father earned that money, with his work, with his effort. That money is the only thing I have left of him, and you are asking me to give it away as if it were worth nothing. Mum, it's not that it's worth nothing. Yes, it is. To you, it's worth nothing, just like me. Mum, don't start that again. Start what, Robert? The truth? Tell me, when was the last time you invited me to your house without it being a social obligation? Mum, when was the last time you let me take care of my granddaughter? When was the last time you treated me like your mother and not like a nuisance? Stop it. I'm not a nuisance. No? Then why does Elizabeth have a permanent bedroom in your house, and I have never been invited to stay even one night? Why does Sophia call her Gummer and call me Mary? Why did you open my gift on Christmas as if it were trash and no one said anything? Robert stood up. Because Elizabeth helps. Because she's present. Why isn't she making drama all the time? His words hit me like a slap. Drama? Asking for a place in my son's life is drama? Mum, you don't understand how things are now. Samantha needs space. She needs her mum to be close. I can't be in the middle of the two of you. I'm not asking you to be in the middle, Robert. I'm asking you to defend me, to include me, to remember that I exist. I do remember you exist, but I can't be fighting with Samantha all the time because of you. There it was, the naked truth. I was a conflict, a problem, something he did not want to deal with. I sat down, took a deep breath, and felt something inside me finally snap. Okay, Robert. Okay, what? Okay, you don't have to pay me back. Consider the money a gift. He relaxed. Thank you, Mum. I knew you would understand. But with one condition. What is it? Don't ask me for anything else. Not money, not favors, not understanding, because I have nothing left to give. Mum, don't be like that. I'm not doing anything. I'm just setting boundaries. Something I should have done a long time ago. Mum, you can leave, Robert. Give my regards to Samantha and Sophia. Just like that. Just like that. He stood there, waiting for me to give in, to beg, to apologize, but I did not. Finally, he left. I closed the door, leaned against it, and cried. I cried for my lost son, for my granddaughter who would never know her real grandmother, for the money I would never get back, for the life I had built and that had collapsed. I cried until I had no more tears. And then, in the midst of that unbearable pain, I made a decision, the most difficult decision of my life. The next morning I got up early, dressed calmly, made coffee, and took out all the papers for my house. The deed, the utility bills, the will that Richard and I made years ago. I read the will. It clearly stated, I leave all my assets to my wife, Mary Johnson, and in the event of her death, everything will pass to my son, Robert. I called a lawyer who was a friend of Richard's. Mr. Baker, this is Mary Johnson. Mary, how are you? It's been a long time since I heard from you. I need to change my will. Change? In what way? I want to disinherit my son. There was a silence. Mary, are you sure about what you're saying? Completely sure. May I ask why? Because my son already has enough, and I want my assets to go to someone who truly needs them. To whom? The local senior centre. I want to donate my house and everything I own. Mary, that is a very big decision. I know, but it's my decision. Can you help me? Of course, but I want you to think it through. Don't let it be an impulsive decision. I have thought about it, Mr. Baker. I have been thinking about it for months. I no longer want to live waiting for my son to value me. I no longer want this house to be a burden for me or anyone. I want it to serve a good purpose. Okay, let's do it. 2 weeks passed. The lawyer prepared all the papers. He changed my will. He made the legal donation of the house to the senior centre, with the condition that I could live there until I wanted to move out. I signed everything, without hesitation. And then I picked up the phone and called Robert. Mom, what's going on? Robert, I need to tell you something important. What? I donated the house. Silence. What? I donated the house to the local senior centre. It's no longer mine. It will no longer be yours. Are you crazy? No. For the first time in years, I'm sane. Mum, that house is worth millions. That house was my inheritance. That house was mine, Robert, not yours. And I decided to do something good with it. You can't do that. I already did. The papers are signed. It's irreversible. I'm coming right over. Don't come. There's nothing to discuss. And I hung up. I turned off my phone. I sat in the living room. And for the first time in months, I felt peace. I had lost everything, but I had gained my dignity. And that, I discovered, was worth more than anything. 3 days passed. Robert did not come. He did not call. Nothing. But I knew he would come, because now money was involved, and money always makes people react. On the 4th day, there was a knock at the door. It was Robert, with Samantha. I opened it. Mum, we need to talk. Come in. They walked into the living room. Samantha looked at me with a mixture of rage and contempt that she no longer even tried to hide. Mum, what did you do? Robert asked. I already told you. I donated the house. But you can't do that. That house is our family's heritage. I sat on the sofa. They remained standing, like prosecutors. Robert, this house belonged to your father and me. We built it together. When he died, it was left in my name. It is mine, and I have the right to do with it whatever I want. Samantha intervened for the first time. Mary, that is an act of selfishness and revenge. You are punishing Robert for something that only exists in your head. I looked at her. I really looked at her. Samantha, do you know how many times I've been to your house in the last year? I don't know. Three. 3 times. And all 3 were because you invited me out of obligation. Do you know how many times your mother has been? She did not answer. Every day, I answered myself. Every day. She has her own bedroom. She has her own key. My granddaughter calls her Gimmer. She calls me Mary. I knitted her a giraffe with my own hands. It took me 3 weeks. She threw it on the floor and no one said anything. Your mother bought her a dollhouse for $500 and everyone applauded. Samantha crossed her arms. My mum is present. She helps. She doesn't just show up demanding attention. I have never demanded anything. I only asked for a place. A small place in the life of my son and my granddaughter. But you decided that place did not exist. Robert ran his hands through his hair. Mum, this is not about that. This is about you making an impulsive decision that affects all of us. It affects you? How does it affect you, Robert? You have your house, you have your jobs, you have Samantha's parents who give you everything. What did I take from you? You took our inheritance. There it was, the naked truth. They did not care about losing me. They cared about losing the money. Robert, did you ever think of me as your mother, or was I always just an asset? Don't say that. Then answer. Since you got married, how many times have you asked me how I am? How many times have you invited me to your house without it being an obligation? How many times have you defended my place in this family? Silence. Exactly. None. Because to you, I stopped being your mother the day you met Samantha. I became a nuisance, someone who had to be tolerated, someone from whom you had to receive money, but whom you did not have to include. Samantha spoke again. Mary, you always play the victim. My mum is a grandmother too, and she doesn't go around demanding attention all the time. Your mother doesn't demand because you give her everything without her asking, but I have to beg for a hug from my granddaughter. That's not true. No. Tell me, Samantha, when was the last time you let me take care of Sophia? When was the last time you called me to ask for advice? When was the last time you treated me like family and not like a burden? Samantha did not answer. She just looked at Robert. This is ridiculous. Let's go, Robert. Your mum has made her decision. Now she can live with the consequences. Robert looked at me. Mum, if you don't reverse this, our relationship is going to break. I felt deep pain, but I also felt clarity. Robert, our relationship is already broken. It has been for months. I just took a long time to realize it. I can't believe you're doing this. I can't believe you asked me to give away $50,000 and then expected me to also give you this house, as if I did not matter, as if my life and my effort were worth nothing. It's not that? Yes, it is. And the saddest thing is that you don't even realize it. Samantha pulled Robert by the arm. Let's go. It's useless talking to her. Before leaving, Robert turned around. If you keep this up, don't ever look for me again, Mum. Don't ever call me. Don't ever ask to see Sophia, because it's over. His words cut through me like knives, but I did not back down. Okay, son, if that's your decision, I respect it. Just like that. Just like that. They left. They slammed the door. I was left alone in the living room, in silence, feeling my life crumble, but also feeling something strange. Relief. Relief at not having to pretend anymore, not having to beg for love, not having to swallow the humiliation. I did not sleep that night. I spent it walking around the house, touching the walls, remembering. This is where Richard and I hung the first picture. This is where Robert learned to walk. This is where we celebrated 1,000 Christmases. This is where we built a life. And now that life would end, but not in vain. That house, with all its memories, would serve to give a dignified home to abandoned seniors, to people who, like me, had been forgotten by their families. I sat in the kitchen, I made coffee, and I spoke to Richard. My love, I hope you agree with what I did. I know we built this house together. I know we wanted it to be for Robert. But Robert is no longer the boy we raised. He became someone I don't recognize, and I can't keep living for someone who doesn't see me. I drank my coffee slowly, and I felt a deep calm. The next morning, at 6 o'clock sharp, there was a knock at the door. It was Mr. Baker with the director of the senior centre. "Good morning, Mary. We have the donation document. Everything is ready for the final signing. Come in, Mr. Baker." We went into the living room. The director, a man of about 60 with kind eyes, shook my hand. "Mrs. Mary, you don't know what this gesture means to us. This house will be a refuge for many people who have no one. We are going to put your name and your husband's name on a plaque. The Richard and Mary Johnson home. A home of love and dignity." I felt my eyes well up with tears. "Thank you. That means a lot to me." "Are you sure you want to do this, Mrs. Mary? It's irreversible." "Completely sure." I signed the papers, one by one, with a steady hand. The lawyer explained the terms to me. "You can continue to live here as long as you want. When you decide to leave, the house will pass completely to the centre. They will take care of everything. You won't have to worry about anything." "Perfect. And your son? Did you tell him?" "Yes, I told him. And he told me not to look for him again." The director looked at me with sadness. "I'm so sorry, Ma'am." "Don't be sorry. Sometimes losses are liberations." We finished. They left, and I was left alone in my house. But I no longer felt alone. I felt free. Free from expectations, free from pain, free from having to be someone who no longer existed. Days passed, then weeks. Robert never called. I did not either. I dedicated myself to preparing the house for its new life. I donated most of my furniture. I kept only the essentials. I packed Richard's photographs, the letters we wrote to each other, the memories I did want to keep. And one afternoon, while cleaning out the closet, I found something that made me cry. An old shoebox. Inside, all the drawings Robert made for me when he was a child. "For the best mum in the world. I love you, Mummy. You are my hero." I sat on the floor and read every single one. I cried, but not out of sadness. I cried because that boy existed, because those moments were real, because that love, even if it no longer existed, had been true, and no one could take that away from me. I put the drawings in a special box, and I put them with Richard's photographs. Our son was beautiful, my love. Maybe he did not end up being who we expected, but he was beautiful. One morning in April, 2 months after the donation, I was having breakfast when the doorbell rang. I thought it was the postman, but when I opened it, it was Elizabeth. She was alone. "Mary, can we talk?" I looked at her, and I saw something in her eyes I had never seen before. Fear. "Come in." We went into the living room. I offered her coffee. She accepted. We sat opposite each other. "Mary, I came to talk to you well, because things at Robert's house are not good." "What happened?" "Samantha and Robert are fighting a lot. About money, about the house, about everything. Samantha is blaming him because his mother betrayed them by donating the house. Robert is stressed. I think I overstepped with my presence. I realized that maybe I was too invasive. I looked at her in silence. And what do you want, Elizabeth? I came to ask you to talk to Robert, to fix things, to reverse the donation, because this situation is destroying my daughter. I felt a bitter laugh rise in my throat. Elizabeth, for 2 years you pushed me aside. You treated me like an intruder. You took my place with my granddaughter. You allowed Samantha to humiliate me over and over again. And now that things are bad, you come to ask me to fix everything. Mary, No, Elizabeth. Let me finish. You and Samantha decided that I was not enough, that my love was worthless, that my presence was a nuisance, and Robert allowed it. Now you are paying the consequences of your own decisions, and it is not my responsibility to save you. But Sophia has 2 grandparents who adore her on Samantha's side. She has everything she needs. The only thing she does not have is a relationship with me, and that loss is hers, not mine. Elizabeth lowered her gaze. Mary, I'm sorry. I really am sorry. I'm sorry too, Elizabeth. I'm sorry we could not be a family. I'm sorry you decided to see me as a rival, and not as an ally. I'm sorry my son chose peace with you instead of fairness with me. So there is nothing I can do? No, not anymore. Elizabeth stood up. Her eyes were moist. I understand. Be well, Mary. You too, Elizabeth. She left. And I stayed there, sitting in my living room, feeling how time, slowly but surely, was beginning to deliver justice. Because life always collects its debts. And I no longer needed to collect them myself. I just needed to wait and live. 6 months passed. 6 months in which I heard nothing from Robert. I continued with my life. I enrolled in painting classes at the local community centre. I met a group of wonderful women, all widows, all with stories similar to mine. We would meet on Thursdays for coffee and paint pictures that would never turn out right, but that made us laugh. One of them, Kathy, said to me one day, Mary, you look different, lighter. I feel different, Kathy. I feel free. And it was true. For the first time in years, I was not waiting for a call. I was not thinking about what I had done wrong. I was not carrying the weight of unrequited love. I simply existed. And that was enough. The senior centre began making plans for the house. They suggested I stay 6 more months while they prepared the space to receive the first residents. I accepted. I moved into the smallest bedroom. I donated my big bed, the one I shared with Richard, and bought a single one. Light, simple. I packed everything I did not need, and I discovered that I really did not need almost anything. One afternoon in October, while painting in the yard, my cell phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Mrs. Mary Johnson? Yes, this is she. This is General Hospital. Your son Robert is here. He had a car accident. It's not serious, but he asked us to let you know. I felt my heart stop. Is he okay? Yes, ma'am. He has some fractures and contusions, but he is stable. Can you come? I'm on my way. I hung up. My hands were shaking. I grabbed my bag, I ordered an Uber and went to the hospital. On the way, my mind was a whirlwind. What if he was seriously hurt? What if he needed me? What if this was an opportunity to reconcile? But another voice, colder, also told me, where was he when you needed him? I arrived at the hospital. I asked at the desk and was sent to the 3rd floor. When I entered the room, Robert was in bed. His right arm was in a cast, bandages on his head, bruises on his face. Mum, you came. His voice sounded surprised. as if he had not expected me to come. Of course I came, Robert. I'm your mum. I sat next to his bed. I took his left hand, the one that was not hurt. What happened? I was driving. I got distracted by my phone. I didn't see the stop sign. A truck hit me on the driver's side. He did not finish the sentence, but I understood. Thank God you're okay. Mum, I need to tell you something. Tell me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything. I'm sorry for how I treated you. I'm sorry for how I let Samantha and Elizabeth push you aside. I'm sorry for asking you for that money. I'm sorry for not valuing you. His eyes filled with tears. When the truck hit me, the only thing I thought was, I'm going to die without having asked my mum for forgiveness. I felt my throat close up. Robert. No, Mum. Let me finish. These months without talking to you were the worst of my life. I realized a lot of things. How I let Samantha control everything. How I allowed her family to make me feel like I wasn't good enough if I didn't give them everything. How I forgot who I am. And I forgot the most important person in my life. You. I cried. I could not help it. Son. Mum, will you forgive me? I looked at him, and I saw the boy who cried when he fell down, the teenager who hugged me before bed, the son who once told me, "You're my hero." Of course I forgive you, Robert. He cried. I did too. We hugged. And for a moment I felt like I had my son back. Where is Samantha? I asked. He wiped his tears. She didn't come. She said she was too busy with Sophia, that she would come later. I felt a pang of sadness for him. And Elizabeth? Not her either. Samantha told her it wasn't necessary, that it wasn't serious. But I did come. Yes, Mum. You always come. I stayed with him all afternoon. I bought him juice. I adjusted his pillows. I told him stories from when he was a kid to make him laugh, like before, as it should have always been. At 7 o'clock at night, Samantha arrived, alone. Hello, Robert. How are you? Fine. Thanks for coming. She saw me. Mary? What a surprise. I came as soon as they told me. Samantha did not say anything else. She sat on the other side of the bed. She took out her phone and started checking messages. Sam? And Sophia? Robert asked. With my mum. Didn't you want to bring her? No, Robert. It's a hospital. It's not a place for kids. But I wanted to see her. You'll see her tomorrow when you're discharged. Robert did not insist, but I saw the sadness in his eyes. I stayed for 1 more hour, then I said goodbye. Mum, thanks for coming. I'll always come, son. Always. I left the hospital, and in the Uber back, I thought about everything that had happened. Robert had apologized, and I had forgiven him. But I also understood something important. Forgiveness does not erase consequences. Robert was still married to Samantha. He was still living in that world of appearances and demands. He was still trapped in a life that was consuming him, and I could not save him from that anymore. I could only love him from afar. And wait. Weeks passed. Robert was discharged from the hospital. We started talking again, but carefully, with distance. He did not mention the house. Neither did I. One day he called me, crying. Mum, I need to talk to you. What happened, son? Samantha asked me for a divorce. I felt the floor move. What? She says she doesn't love me anymore, that I married her under pressure, that I was never the man she expected, that her family always knew I wasn't good enough for her. Robert, I'm so sorry. Mum, you were right. About everything. I let them control me. I let them make me feel less than. And the worst part is that I lost you trying to please them. You didn't lose me, son. I'm right here. Really, Mum? After everything I did to you, you can still say that? You're my son, Robert. No matter what happens, I'll always be here. He cried on the phone, like a lost child. Mum, I lost everything. Samantha wants to take the house. She says her family put in more money. She wants full custody of Sophia. Elizabeth hired the best lawyers. I have nothing. I can't even afford my own lawyer. My heart broke. Robert, how much do you need? No, Mum. I'm not going to ask you for money again. I took enough from you. Robert, tell me how much you need. $10,000 for the lawyer's retainer. I'll give it to you. No, Mum. Yes, I'll give it to you, because you're my son, and because this time I know you really need it. Not to impress anyone, not to live beyond your means, but to defend yourself. Mum, where are you going to get that money? I have some savings. I'll use them. Mum, you don't have the house anymore. You can't be left with nothing. Robert, money comes and goes, but you are my son, and I'm not going to leave you alone. He cried. I love you, Mum. I love you so much. I love you too, son. I gave him the money. He hired a lawyer. The divorce process began. It was long. It was painful. Samantha fought for everything: the house, the furniture, the savings, the custody of Sophia. Elizabeth hired a private investigator to look for dirt on Robert. They found out that he once drove while drinking. They used it against him. Robert lost the house. He lost most of his savings. And he was only given supervised visits with Sophia once a week. He moved to a small apartment in Hollywood, alone, broken, devastated. I supported him through everything. I went to the hearings. I listened to him cry. I cooked his favorite meals. I reminded him who he was. Robert, this doesn't define you. You fell down, but you're going to get back up. Mum, I lost everything. Not everything. You have me. A year after the divorce, Robert started to rebuild. He got a better job. He went to therapy. He started having a better relationship with Sophia. And one afternoon, while we were having lunch together at my house, he said to me, Mum, I went to see the senior center. I saw the plaque with your name and Dad's name. You did? What you did is beautiful, Mum. Seriously, I'm proud of you. Thank you, son. Mum, I know I lost my inheritance, but I gained something much more valuable. I gained your respect, and I gained my own. I looked at him with pride. That's all that matters, son. That night, when Robert left, I sat in the yard. I looked at the stars, and I spoke to Richard. My love, our son is finding his way. He fell, but he's getting back up. And I'm here to help him. Not with money, not with things, but with love. With the love I never should have made conditional on anything. The wind blew softly, and I felt Richard's presence. And I knew he was at peace. Because justice does not always come with thunder and lightning. Sometimes it comes silently, naturally, inevitably. Samantha kept the house, but she was also left alone. Elizabeth continued to go every day, but now they also fought. Because when there is no one to control, they control each other. Sophia was growing up confused, surrounded by luxury but without emotional stability, and Robert, who had lost everything, was beginning to find himself. Life always collects its debts, and I no longer needed to collect anything. I just needed to live, to love, and to let go. Because that, I discovered, is true freedom. 3 years have passed since I donated the house. 3 years in which my life changed completely. I no longer live in the house in Queens. I moved to a small, bright apartment in the Greenwich Village neighborhood, near the market. It has a balcony with pots full of flowers, red geraniums, lavender, rosemary. Every morning I wake up with the sun coming through the window. I make coffee, I water my plants, and I thank life for giving me a second chance. A second chance to be myself. The house in Queens became the Richard and Mary Johnson home. 12 seniors, who were abandoned by their families, now live there. They have a decent roof over their heads. Hot food, company, love. I go to visit them once a week. I bring them cookies. I read them books. I listen to their stories. One of the residents, Mrs. Hope, told me recently, "Mary, you saved our lives." "No, Mrs. Hope, you saved mine." And it was true. Because by letting go of that house, by letting go of the need to be loved by those who did not want to love me, I found my true purpose: to help, to live lightly, to be free. Robert and I see each other twice a week. On Tuesdays, we have dinner together. On Sundays, we go out for breakfast. We talk about everything: his work, Sophia, life, how he is slowly rebuilding himself. 6 months ago, he met a woman. Her name is Lauren. She is a primary school teacher, divorced, with 2 children. Mum, Lauren is different. She's down to earth, warm. She doesn't care how much money I have or where I live. She just wants to be with me. Then she's the one, son. Would you like me to meet her? I'd love that. Last week, Robert introduced her to me. They came to my apartment. Lauren brought a lemon pie that she made herself. "Mrs. Mary, Robert has told me so much about you. Call me Mary, please, and welcome." The 3 of us had dinner. We talked, we laughed, and I saw how Robert looked at her. With love, with peace, with authenticity. "Mum, Lauren knows my whole story. I told her everything. About Samantha, about Elizabeth, about the house, about how I treated you. And she didn't judge me. She just hugged me and said, 'The important thing is who you are now.'" Lauren took my hand. "Mary, Robert told me what you did, donating your house to help others. That says a lot about who you are, and I'm happy that you're his mother." I felt my eyes well up with tears. "Thank you, Lauren. Take care of my son, and let him take care of you too." "I will." When they left that night, I stayed on the balcony looking at the city lights, and I felt something I had not felt in years: complete peace. Robert is well. He is finding his way, and I can let him go without fear, because I no longer need him to exist, and he no longer needs me to be happy. We simply love each other, and that is enough. Sophia is now 6 years old. Robert has shared custody, 1 week with him, 1 week with Samantha. 2 months ago, Robert asked me to go with him to pick her up from school. "Mum, I want Sophia to really know you. It's time." We went together. We waited at the school gate. When Sophia came out, she ran toward Robert. "Daddy." "Hello, my love. Look, I want to introduce you to someone very special." Sophia looked at me with those big, curious eyes. "This is your Grandma Mary, your daddy's mum." "Hello," she said timidly. "Hello, Sophia. You're so pretty." "Are you the grandma my daddy talks about?" "Yes, my love. That's me. My daddy says you're very good, that you help a lot of people." "I try to." "And is it true that you gave away your house?" "Yes, my love. I gave it away so that other people could live in it." Sophia looked at me with admiration. That's like being a superhero, I laughed. Well, I don't know about all that, but I like to help. That afternoon, the three of us went to the park. Sophia played on the swings. Robert pushed her. I watched them from a bench. At one point, Sophia ran toward me. "Grandma Mary, will you push me?" My heart stopped. Grandma Mary. Finally. "Of course, my love." I pushed her on the swing. She laughed. She shouted, "Higher, Grandma!" And I felt that everything had been worth it. All the years of pain, all the tears, all the nights alone. They had been worth it to get to this moment, to hear my granddaughter call me Grandma, to see her smile, to be a part of her life. When we finished, Sophia hugged me. "Grandma, can I come to your house one day?" "Whenever you want, my love." "And will you teach me to knit?" "My daddy says you knitted a giraffe for me when I was a baby." I felt a lump in my throat. "Yes, my love. I'll teach you to knit." Robert looked at me, and in his eyes I saw gratitude, love, respect. "Thank you, Mum," he whispered. "Thank you, son." A month ago, Sophia came to my apartment for the first time. Robert let her spend the afternoon with me. I taught her to knit. We made cookies together. I told her stories about when her daddy was little. Daddy was mischievous. Very much so. One time he climbed a tree and couldn't get down. His dad had to rescue him with a ladder. Sophia laughed. "My daddy is so funny." "Yes, my love. And he loves you very much." When Robert came to pick her up, Sophia did not want to leave. "Daddy, can I stay longer with Grandma?" "Not today, my love. But you can come again next week." "Really, Wons?" "Really, but..." Sophia hugged me tight. "I love you, Grandma." And I, who had waited 3 years to hear those words, cried with happiness. "I love you too, my love. Very much." Life continued its course. One day while walking through the market, I ran into Elizabeth. I had not seen her in 2 years. She looked tired, older, with completely white hair. "Mary." "Elizabeth. How are you?" "Fine. More or less." We stood there, two women who once fought over the same space. Now we were just two grandmothers growing old. "How is Sophia?" I asked. "Fine. Growing up. She's a beautiful girl." "Yes, she is." "Mary, I want to tell you something. You were right. About everything. I was too controlling. Too invasive. I thought I was helping Samantha, but I was actually destroying her marriage and her life." "Elizabeth." "No, let me finish. Samantha and I barely talk anymore. She blames me for the divorce. She says I pressured her to be someone she wasn't, that I put ideas in her head, that I made her unhappy." I looked at her, and instead of feeling satisfaction, I felt compassion. "I'm sorry, Elizabeth. I'm sorry too. I'm sorry for how I treated you. I'm sorry for taking your place. I'm sorry for everything. It's over, Elizabeth. It's over. Do you forgive me?" "I forgave you a long time ago. I can't live carrying grudges. Life is too short." Elizabeth started crying right there, in the middle of the market. "I lost my daughter, Mary. I pressured her so much that I lost her. And now I'm alone." "You're not alone, Elizabeth. You have Sophia. Sophia doesn't call me Gima anymore. Now she calls you Grandma. And she's right, because you know how to love without controlling. I never learned." "It's never too late to learn." "Do you really believe that?" "Yes, I really do." We said goodbye, and I continued on my way, with a light heart. Because forgiveness is not for the other person, it's for yourself. and I had already forgiven everything. Yesterday, Robert came to visit me with news. Mum, Lauren and I are getting married. Son, that's wonderful. And we want you to marry us. Well, not legally, but we want you to give us your blessing in the ceremony, as the matriarch of the family. I felt my chest swell with pride. It would be an honor. Mum, this time it's going to be different. It's going to be a small wedding. Only the people who truly matter to us. And you're going to be in the front row, where you always should have been. Thank you, son. No, Mum. Thank you for not giving up on me, for forgiving me, for teaching me what true love is. We hugged, and I knew that everything had come full circle, that everything had been worth it. This morning I got up early. I made my coffee. I watered my plants. And I sat on the balcony to write this story, because I needed to tell it. I needed someone, somewhere, to hear this and know that they are not alone, that many of us have been through the same thing, that many of us have been forgotten, belittled, used, but also that it is possible to get out of it, that it is possible to regain your dignity, that it is possible to forgive without forgetting, to let go without abandoning, to love without losing yourself. If my story helps even one woman open her eyes, it will have been worth it. If one mother reads this and understands that her worth does not depend on how much her children need her, but on who she is herself, then all the tears I shed will make sense. Because I learned something no one taught me, that a mother can love her children without losing herself, that a woman can be generous without being foolish, that true love does not beg or plead, it simply is, and that sometimes losing everything is the only way to find yourself. Today I am 58 years old. I live in a small apartment. I do not own a house. I do not have millions in savings. But I have peace. I have my son who looks for me because he loves me, not because he needs me. I have my granddaughter who calls me grandma with true affection. I have friends who make me laugh. I have plants that bloom on my balcony. I have Richard's memory accompanying me every step of the way. And I have my dignity intact. And that, I discovered, is all a woman needs to be happy. The other day, Sophia asked me, "Grandma, why did you give away your house?" I looked at her, and I told her the truth. Because sometimes, my love, to find your true home, you have to let go of the one that is making you unhappy. Your home is not a place. It is a feeling. It's where you feel at peace. It's where you are yourself. And I found my home when I stopped looking for it in others and found it within myself. She looked at me with those wise eyes that children sometimes have. "You're very brave, Grandma." "No, my love. I just learnt to love myself." And that, I discovered, is the most important lesson of all. To love yourself, to respect yourself, not to betray yourself to please others. Today, as I finish writing this story, I look out the window. I see the blue sky. I hear the birds. I feel the sun on my face. And I say to Richard, wherever he may be, "We did it, my love. We lost the house, but we gained life." And that's all that matters. Thank you for listening to me until the end. If this story touched your heart, subscribe and turn on notifications to hear more stories of women who transformed their pain into wisdom. Every day, a woman, a life lesson. Share this story with someone you love. Sometimes a story like this can change an entire day. God bless you, and until next time.